All right, you ready to get started? All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. We have a special guest again this week.
It's me. No.
Have a good buddy of mine, good old friend, old pal, Peter. Peter, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hello, I'm Pete. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course. Happy to have you.
You gonna add a logo for him this time?
No, I didn't have one for Screw. I don't got one for him either.
It's messed up. All I gotta do is copy his Discord picture.
Yeah, well, why don't you do it then?
Because I'm not streaming. How am I gonna do it? Anyway. So, as per usual, we'll catch up on news and whatnot, or, current events with RUM-Gaming.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Well, I always have 3D news since I'm nonstop printing for the flea market. But also, we finally made some headway on not necessarily getting like a sponsor, but we became what is it? Creator people.
We're like
creator
beta testers. Yeah.
So it's kind of the same concept of like what do you call those people, like Twitch influencers or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's more low key than that.
Yeah.
So we were reaching out to 3D filament manufacturers and companies and printer companies for almost a year now, just trying to send out little emails like, hey, here's what RUM-Gaming is about. We'd love to have your help. We'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Haven't had a lot of return emails and whatnot until, ironically, I had the idea of in the beginning, I was like, well, let's test the waters with all these companies we'd never really heard of, like smaller companies, not the big name brand people. Yeah. And the other day I was like, you know what, like obviously the small time people either don't want to help or can't help, or maybe we're doing it wrong, who knows. I was like, I'm gonna reach out to Overture, because I bought like 6 rolls of Overture for the flea market. And so I was like, all right, let me look up what Overture has, see if they have any kind of sponsorships or anything like that.
Right. Yep.
And they had a program that was like, it was 2 things. It was either we donate to things like nonprofits, or if you're like a creator and streamer, we help out. We work with those people as well. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we kind of fit both criteria. It was the same form for both. So I just filled out the form, said, here's what we do and how we do it, and that we stream and everything. And
yeah.
They reached back out to me a couple back and forths, just verifying what we do and why and how we do it. And they're like, yeah, I think you fit the requirement. And
yeah, so that's pretty exciting.
So basically, the first go around, they're sending us 3 rolls of filament. One's a matte filament, one's a standard PET G, and the other one's a standard PLA red. So we got a PLA matte tan or light brown.
Yeah, it looked like a brown.
Yeah, and then a red and a black coming.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. They're shipping us 3 rolls of filament, and all we got to do is do what we already do: just take pictures of everything we print, send it to them, let us know, let them know the feedback of how we like the filament.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because the first roll of filament I ever used on the 3D printer was Overture. I've got an Overture one on the film on the roll right now. I'm having issues getting it to adhere, but other than that, I mean, I've always kind of liked Overture as a brand, so we're real excited about that.
Yeah, we still have yet to learn, what the frequency is or anything like that, but still, I mean, 3 rolls, based on 10-hour print jobs. I mean, we can knock out at least 10 veteran prints per roll.
Yeah, that's huge.
That basically covers 3 months of our 3D print giveaways.
Yep.
For things like this, corgi cookie cutter. I could probably make like 30 or 40 of these on one roll of filament.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so that's the RUM-Gaming news. You can see the table's still growing over here. I finished the green filament. But hey, let me show you these. What do they call them? Sir Raptor or Fancy Raptor? I haven't cleaned these yet. It's a Flexi Raptor with a top hat.
Okay.
And they can hang from things like the edge of your cup or the end of your monitor.
That's pretty neat.
Nice.
So Crystal has one hanging from the top of her monitor. And the picture they show me, you put them on the end of your, solo cups or all those cups that everybody's excited about.
That's pretty neat. I like that.
Could be like in King's Cup when you play the 1-man rule. You can hang that on your solo cup.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, these are pretty cool, and they're pretty cheap to make as far as the material costs. So I knocked out about 7 or 8 of them, hoping this will be one of our unique big sellers compared to the more bigger companies out there. Because I learned there's an actual 3D printing business that just literally moved from Houston to Bartlesville.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, met them last weekend, and they have that bamboo 3D printer that I sent you. And they have like 24 printers, but they have like 12 FDMs, like 6 resin printers, and I think they said 2 or 3 of those fancy bamboo ones. And so they knock out, the multicolored, like they can do like 6 colors at one time on one model.
Yeah.
Like God, and it's their business. So,
yeah.
They literally have a whole room of printers just pumping out high quality multicolored stuff. They can make big things because they have this like 2 foot tall Luigi, but it's all like glued together.
Yeah.
And it's because they can have like the hand on one printer, the foot on another, the ear on another, and 24 printers going at one time, one part each, and an hour later, boom, they got a 2 foot by 1 foot Luigi.
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
It's like that seems like
hard to compete.
Seems like one of the coolest jobs ever until leveling day comes.
But it just makes me wonder where I'm like, they were at the board game store in town they're partaking in the Geek Garage Sale every year for the 100-mile garage sale event. And I'm talking about trying to go to this flea market that's every month. And I'm like, man, if these guys show up to the flea market,
I'm fucked.
Well, I mean, granted, they're going to have different things than me, but still, it's like, I'm printing standard single color flexi items.
Listen, here. If they show up, okay, I'm going to call a couple of my Italian buddies. We'll go over there and we'll sink their fucking shoes, all right?
Yeah. But I mean, the difference is, we have different products, and ours is, for a good cause versus just their pockets. So I'm hoping that if they do go to the same event, that it won't be like a big competition or something.
No.
But it did kind of almost deflate me a little. I've been like super excited about this flea market, and I ran into those guys and found out they moved to Bartlesville, and I'm like, well, great.
Shit.
Oh, we got this niche little.
You got fucking Walmart coming in and buying you the fuck out.
Over here with my freaking lemonade
stand. Hey, you know what? You should do? You should see if they'd be willing to fucking work with us. They can do our, 3D printing for us.
Well, not the 3D printing for us, but it's funny you mentioned that. This guy has a monocle. I didn't even realize that.
Oh, shit.
Look at that. Hang on. It's only on the one side, too. Let me see if I can get it to focus on that.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
Oh, he fancy.
It's just something. Pretty like 8 of these just now noticed that. But to continue the conversation, that bamboo, I don't know if you ever saw the video or looked them up or not. They're super fancy, fully enclosed box. Ventilated and temperature controlled, auto leveling, the works. It's the Rolls Royce of fucking 3D printing. The problem is, or sort of the problem, is that every time it changes filament, it purges because it just has one nozzle. So just like your regular filament, whenever you swap out a
Yeah.
roll, it kind of has that leftover.
Yeah.
Well, it does a purge every time it switches. So the more it switches, the more it's purging a little chunk of filament out.
Yeah. So it kind of eats filament.
And he had these squirrels, right? So I'm gonna have big hands, but you see how big this is, right?
Yeah.
Just fits in my palm. The Squirtle was like this big, so take off the tail. It's a Squirtle this big. It's a Squirtle fidget spinner, right? Not very big, like 3-inch by 1-inch Squirtle fidget spinners. And he said making 6 of those was enough to do the next part that I look forward to doing is you can apparently melt your filament scraps into a resin or silicone mold to make items out of your scraps.
Yeah.
And so they melt theirs into these skulls that are like the size of a baseball. And he said that 6 little Squirtle fidget spinners made 1 baseball-sized skull out of the scraps. So he's like, it's literally almost spitting out an equal amount that it takes to make the thing. So it's like costing double the material.
Well, I mean,
So
hey, with performance comes a price, I suppose.
Yeah. So it's like, he's producing these high-quality, multicolored Squirtle fidget spinners, but now he had to find something to do with the ton of scraps that he's having.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool that he has the skull mold, and it got me thinking. We had talked about trying to do the RUM-Gaming pet as a 3D print to give away and stuff, and we just couldn't really justify paying a 3D modeler to create it for us. Well, I thought about reaching out to this guy because they actually do 3D modeling as well, like creating shit.
Really?
And I'm like, well, hey, this is a guy in town that I can work with in person. Maybe get like the nonprofit deal or
see if maybe you can get some dice masters for me to mold.
But just thought, maybe I can work out a better deal with somebody that I can actually sit down and talk with in person. Work out some favors or something, or trades or something.
Yeah. Or hell, even just somebody to pick their brain about 3D printing. I could use somebody's assistance like that with mine.
Well, they do offer like 3D printing repair and coaching. They do the whole
damn, dude,
all out.
Wish I'd have known they were in Houston before they left.
Yep, they were literally in the Woodlands.
That's nuts, man. I missed the boat on that one, I suppose.
Yeah, it was literally like 3 weeks ago. They said they moved up here. But my point was, it would be cool if they could make a 3D model of the rum pet, and then I'll take that 3D model and have somebody make a silicone mold out of it, and then that's what I can melt our scraps into.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, both daunting knowing that there's a mega 3D printing company in town, but it might lead to, I learned a lot by going to their booth this past weekend, seeing those skull molds and getting ideas. Like, I was just throwing my scraps away because I'm like, I don't have enough to do anything with, and prior to learning that, the only option, there's companies out there you can like mail your scraps to, and they'll mail you a roll of filament, but you have to have like 6 buckets before you get a roll of filament from them. And I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not even worried about it. But if I could turn them into some molds that are like, cool art to sell along with our 3D models, that'd be great. And if we could double up on it and make a mold out of our RUM-Gaming pet mascot.
Hell, I could even do that. I could even do that out of dice. You could do that in a dice too.
Well, yeah.
It'd be kind of funky, but
yeah, so it doesn't always melt perfectly.
Oh.
So you'd have weighted dice basically if you did that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, a theory though is you can make a kind of a what's that called, like a novelty dice, like a baseball sized D20 mold.
Yeah, or like make one of those giant like D100s.
Well, yeah, but out of a mold, you're not gonna even know what it is. I don't know. I mean, point is, depending on the cost, we might. I'm hoping to get the 3D pet mascot, but otherwise, just look at, find some mold on Amazon.
Yeah,
order and use. But it's cool now that we're mass printing for these, flea markets, and we're gonna try and go to more events. Like we're gonna have more and more scraps coming along. So be cool to actually
Do
repurpose
something
those
with it.
scraps.
Yep. Recycle.
Well, yeah, recycle and maximize profit margins.
Yeah.
Which is part of our stream here. How to discussing finances, how to be better and smarter, and why we're always broke.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you put us on a little homework exercise. We'll talk about that in a future episode, but it was pretty eye opening actually.
Well, it's worse if you go deep diving into it like I do.
I mean,
Like,
just
yeah.
at like a cursory, I worked on it for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so. And it gave me a lot of optimism.
Yeah.
Because I factored it in as if I was like living in our new house, right? Approximately what my mortgage payment would be, approximately what my, be living at this new house.
Yeah.
And the result was surprising. So
Yeah, I'd be curious what you came up with, because I don't know. I'd like to know how you're coming up with your utilities for that.
yeah. But anyway,
So that's
tonight's episode.
yeah.
Tell me about it. What's about it? Tell us.
I thought you were going to tell us.
No, tell us
That's
about
strange.
it, man.
I've been talking for the last 20 minutes.
Hey, well, you know what? You got a better voice than I do. Keep talking.
That's right, baby. I got all the voice all night.
That's right.
Keep it live, right?
And
here
you know
at
what?
RUM-Gaming.
And you know what? I have you mixed perfectly like butter.
Yeah, you'd make a good radio host or a good voice actor.
That's why we're on this talk show. Just got to start raking them in.
Yeah.
So we need to advertise. Change our name to the one guy with the voice and his brother.
And his brother. 2
veterans, 2 views.
It's sometimes a friend.
Yeah.
Crazy Quinn says sleep.
Hey, we talked about that before, and I still might do it, about doing a stream where it's just me reading, and you could actually, make requests for me to read things.
That'd be pretty. Actually, yeah.
Not a bad idea at all.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's really not. That's a YouTube thing, man.
Yeah, that actually might be better for YouTube, where I don't have to worry about comments and stuff. Oh, hey, I never thought about it. First, I was always thinking of a stream, but yeah, it might actually be better as a YouTube series.
You can start with Lord of the Rings.
God, it's forever. Nah, I was thinking more like shorter things, like I have an Edgar Allan Poe poem book on my shelf here. I could have started off with that, like reading poetry, short stories, things like that.
Yeah. I do like some good short stories.
I'm sure some people might like funny things like reading instruction manuals or something.
Yeah. You can make that channel points, If you say 10,000 channel points, you can we'll read an instruction manual.
Well, it's basically, read whatever you want. Yeah. Well,
Read
that's the
what
other
a
thing.
crystal smut
You
books.
read some of these dirty books on YouTube. Not to really read what the rules are on YouTube before I read some of those books. Be banned after the first video.
Man.
But anyway, so yeah, the point of our discussion today is going over the last 2 streams. We first talked about how tall is your ladder, meaning as far as your job, your career, your finances, your state of living, your household, your family. What is your financial and career goals, ladder height? Like, how many steps are there? Because you run across people that just have a 3-step ladder. They live in the trailer park, they work at the Dollar General.
Yeah.
They eat, the cheapest food possible. You eat complete meals and spaghetti for the rest of their lives. They buy whatever cheap beer. They drink Bud Light and smoke off-brand cigarettes or something. And like that's their cap. They're like, I'm happy right here. And then you got the extreme go-getters that have the 100-step ladder that they're trying to make 6 figures a year by the time they're 25.
Yeah.
And then you got us, what I consider myself and Jason, most of my people is the steady, slow and steady go getters. We're not leaping up the ladder. Our ladder's not 100 steps high. We're realistic. We got like a 30-step ladder. We're just gonna keep climbing and keep climbing, keep climbing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
we're not trying to. While it'd be nice to make six figures by ourselves, not as a group, it'd be great. But we're not like that's where I'm. I'm not gonna quit till I get there. It's just if I
Yeah.
get there, great. If I don't, I'm all right.
Yeah. As long as I can,
We're gonna
buy the
keep
things
aiming
I
higher,
want.
but yeah. And then the next week we went over the kind of cost of living between the 80s and 2023, and that was some pretty eye-opening stuff. Seeing that basically the average household income has only doubled from the 80s to now, but the cost of a car was like 7 times more. The cost of a house was 5 times more.
Education was 14 times more.
Something crazy. Yeah. And it was like you could effectively have a house, a car, an education, other crazy stuff. It was your entire cost of living plus a car, house, and education. College. This was like Harvard pre-grad
Harvard
education, all off of a single person's income back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now it's your cost, your income's only doubled, but everything else is 5, 7, and 14 times the cost. So it's pretty eye-opening there as well.
Yeah.
So to stem off of kind of both of those, the cost of living now, and as well as the top of your ladder, like we said, we're just kind of steadily getting to the top. If I got to the top, god dang, it'd be a happy days. But the top is more like just touching the clouds for me, and I'm like, if I get there, great. Do I expect to get there? Am I guaranteeing? Am I one of those feels like, no, I'm getting there? No, that's just where the top ladder is.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean my fat ass is gonna make it there before I pass out. But I still have a taller ladder. I'm not at the top of my 3-step ladder saying I made it. My ladder still has more steps to go. And the point of that for this week is we wanted to say, if you could get to the top of your ladder, what would that be like? Like how much money would you have? What kind of house and car and style of living would you have? And I kind of proposed it, somebody like Bezos or Bill Gates or something said, I like you so much, I'm going to make an allotment to your account for whatever it takes to reach the top of your ladder lifestyle. But then it's a little different, because if you weren't working, I feel like you would want more. So I feel like I want to say, like, if you still have to work at your job, we'll make that the requirement. Like, that's going to be Bill Gates' requirement, is like, no, you still need to work 40 hours a week, or I'm going to stop your allotment.
Well, and that's a big point, because something my dad always told me was, the more money you make, the more money you spend.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you're upgrading your lifestyle so much, you're getting the promotion, you're adding more income, and you're gonna spend the more money that you make. It's just human nature.
We've discussed that in the last couple streams. Like, our household has doubled our household income in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like I have double the amount in my bank account. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just my cost of living has gone up because my, how I live.
Yeah. Your living standards have increased.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's always been a curiosity of mine, is like, at what point do I stop increasing that standard of living?
Yeah.
It doesn't. And that's the crazy thing about it, is again, I can tell you from personal experience, it's the more money you make, the more you upgrade your lifestyle. and it's all about technique as far as saving, investing, putting money away. You know, if you can live your same lifestyle for X amount of years while you continue to upgrade and put money away and sink it into other things that can make passive income, that's where you're going to see a big difference in like the long term.
So you would say your perspective is there is no top of a ladder. Your ladder just continues to get longer as you climb it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I from the ladder that I've been climbing the last decade, it's just been increasing more and more costs, more and more liability. Um, and I don't think that I have a necessarily like 10-year ladder plan. I think that I just look at it like I'm gonna keep climbing. Like I just want more. And I have this bad habit, and I got it when I was like in high school when I downloaded ROMs on my phone. I had a Game Boy Advance emulator and an NES emulator, and I had access to any game that I wanted to play. And it seemed like I just wanted to play more and more. And I stopped playing Legend of Zelda Minish Cap halfway through because I wanted to play something else. And then so, and then so. Like it was one of those things where I was exposed to how high the ladder could climb, how much I could attain, and I just kept wanting more. And I was like, why can't I just be happy playing blue version
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
or red version on my phone? No, I wanted to play so much more.
Yeah. I wanted to play everything.
So it's well, interesting on multiple levels there because I'm the kind of, well, the game perspective, I'm the kind of gamer that puts thousands of hours into one game. And
Yeah.
it always gives me a hard time of like, I like going back to a certain set of games.
Yep. You have
I
a
no problem
rotation.
doing it.
You have a rotation of like 5 or 6 games that you go through.
Yeah, it's bigger than 5 or 6. But the side note to that is it's also based on I'm pretty much addicted to playing with on multiplayer games. So like if I had 5 buddies come along right now and said, let's go play Arc PvP, like I'll download it right now.
Yeah.
But if it's my motivation of do I want to go play it and make a group and make friends and shit, I'm like, nah, pass.
And I'm the same way. Like once I get a good game that I can play with a lot of buddies, I get addicted to it.
Yeah.
But I think having, I mean, you guys built my PC last year.
Yep.
Having Steam and having all kinds of different platforms now, it kind of screwed me up a little bit because now I'm like, I have so much more access to so many more games, and
broadens your horizons.
I can't stick to something.
Well, see, and that's where the budget comes in. When you're a cheap budgeting person like me, you know, like that's why I like games like Ark, because I can put 10,000 hours into this $30 game.
Yeah.
I think that's what got me addicted to these survival games and whatnot, because of things like that. Because while I'm a gamer on a budget, I could drop $30 and get 10,000 hours out of it.
Yeah.
Versus if I had more money, then yeah, I'd be like you, like, oh, I could play this, or I could play that, I could play this. Yeah. Because I don't have the money, or just unwilling to spend it. I don't have that much floating money to want to buy games all the time.
You have more willpower than me. See, that's just my weakness. Like
that is my weakness.
If I got $20, $40 just floating around, like I'm willing to just sink it into something that I want to try or that I've heard about.
I mean, it's not really. I mean, it is willpower, but that's because I have more desires to spend that money somewhere else. I'd rather, take my family out to eat this weekend versus buy a video game for myself. So that's always the constant debate in my head is like, well, what else could I do with this money? Well, I could do this or that or this. Now, if you take that away, like, man, you make me a retired man? Shit. That's probably when I'll start buying games every fucking week.
And that's actually a good side note too, like retirement. like you can add to this episode, what does retirement look like for you? Because
Coffin.
that's
A
kind
call.
Well, I mean, I think it's like a good good branch off this topic, just because you're evidently everybody's climbing the ladder for retirement, and what does retirement look like for you? Some people don't prepare for retirement or
Well, yeah, and that
want
comes
to.
back to those 3-step ladder people. It's like, what is their in-game plan?
Yeah,
To just survive until they die?
yeah,
Like that's another. Again, I could keep talking about the three-step ladder people all day because it never stops blowing my mind.
yeah. I mean,
Like the
and
retirement thing.
just to clarify, it's like there's nothing inherently wrong with that, right? Like if you've got your 3-step ladder and you're happy where you're at, then by God, good
Yeah,
for you.
I mean,
I'm happy
I'm
for
almost
you. But it's just
on
something
a
that
certain level. I'm jealous.
yeah, exactly. And it's like it's just something that I'll never be able to personally wrap my head around.
No, and it's one of those things where like simplicity is okay for certain types of people, where they don't necessarily need to achieve more than where they're at,
But yeah,
and they're
minimalists.
comfortable, and they're comfortable, not necessarily minimalists, but more just they're comfortable where they're at, and they don't need anything more.
Yeah.
And it's always, I don't know if baffle is the right word, but you're right. Like I'd like to know the mindset, and I think the perspective has to do with a lot of it, because you also don't necessarily know the story of the person who
Yeah,
they're fine with just doing what they're doing for 10, 20 years.
Yeah, I
um
mean, this person could have come from a family where, like, as minimalistic as we may think that their lives is, that's the most they've ever had, you know.
well,
And
there's a lot of variables to life. Like you can go through so much. Am I allowed to curse on this, by the way?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Just
it's a,
can't be
it's a,
you,
racist.
yeah,
you may
it's
go
a,
you may go through some kind of shit that just puts you in a situation where you you really can't do more than just getting by or living paycheck to paycheck, or you're at a point in life where something has happened where you lost a family member, or lost a close loved one, or a child, or a spouse, or something, and you're at a point where you kind of mentally just want to do
check
the
out.
same thing. Yeah, check out and do the same thing for 5, 10 years of your life. I mean, there's decades everybody experiences that are different, so it's one of those things where it's not that hard to figure out. You necessarily do you have to figure it out, but some people are okay with just doing the same thing because that's what they need necessarily.
Yeah,
You never know.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so fascinating, though, is because like for those of us, at least the three of us, we can't imagine not continuing to climb the ladder. As far as the pace in which you climb it, that may vary, but I just can't imagine not climbing the ladder anymore.
No, and we're young, and I think inherently we have it in us where we're supposed to want to achieve more. I think that our culture, our country tells us that you have to do this to do this. You have to do this to get this. You have to earn money so you can have this. And it's one of those things where young men like ourselves are it's kind of ingrained in us, almost broader than culturally, where I don't know what it is in our brains that just says we have to provide, we have to do, and we get a lot of achievement from achieving, making more money, and it brings
yeah.
you a lot more
It's
comfortability.
pride.
Like,
It's pride.
you, well, pride's a big thing about it, but also like providing for and gaining. It's just the whole level up factor. It's leveling up and seeing what you've achieved and seeing what you've gained because of your hard work. Self-made people, especially like you guys, you have a big thing going where you're creating something with your hands, you're doing something, and making money off of something like that is ultimately the goal and the dream that a lot of people don't even consider.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't look at this country and this economy the way it's set up, that you have to build something for yourself. Working for somebody for 20 years isn't going to gain you anything. The whole
Yeah.
country is run on buying and selling or creating and selling. And it's as simple as that. And some people don't realize that,
Mm.
and they just get stuck in where they're at. And it can be bad or good. I mean, again, it really just depends on the person.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot. And it's something that I learned at my last job really well. It's like you could legitimately make a decent living doing, 45 to 30 minutes of work a day just by like reselling, right? Like buy stuff off
Yeah.
of Alibaba for cheap as dirt and then resell it on Amazon. And you're just making money hand over fist.
That's the secret that this country has had, and not this country, but everywhere has had for years and years.
Yep.
You're wholesaling. Just do what you need to do to have the credentials to do it, and you can buy stuff for cheap. It kills me that I pay retail for Pokemon cards.
Yep.
And it got to the point where I was sick and tired of sinking so much money into Pokemon cards, buying them at Target and Walmart and what have you, when I knew the formula to be able to buy them wholesale, and I can open packs for free and still make money while doing so.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because for those of you who may not know, Peter is a semi-successful business owner with your Pokemon cards, I would say.
So just quick intro. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm a real estate agent. I sell tiny homes in the Poconos. A couple years ago, again, I got back into collecting Pokemon cards, and I started my own online retail company with selling and buying Pokemon cards. Main part of my business is just buying and selling. That's all it is. I wholesale Pokemon cards, boxes, stuff like that. And my second part of the business is just buying collections from people that are
Yep.
looking to sell and
Yep.
grading and selling.
You showed me this massive collection you came across the other a couple weeks ago. That was pretty impressive.
And for me, it's one of those things where it, it's it's kind of hard because you go to work, you do what you have to do 9 to 5. Finding something that you love what you're doing is really hard to do. I enjoy selling things,
Yeah.
and I think buying and selling Pokemon cards was the perfect business just because it's a hobby and I get to make money.
Yeah. That's always the dream, isn't it?
It's what's kind of funny when you mention like, oh, we found something. And I assume you're talking about 3D printing and whatnot. But 3D printing is such a interesting
Market.
market, yeah,
Yeah.
or business or market or idea, because like, yeah, the profit margin is massive, but it's only massive if you have a 3D printing farm.
Sure.
Because the time, like, yeah, this little raptor thing here, it probably cost shit 50 cents
Yeah.
to make this, but
Yep.
it took me 3 hours to print it.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I could probably sell this for like $3 or $4 at the flea market, probably pretty easily, maybe even 5 if I wanted to push my luck,
Yeah.
just because it's something unique, universal, hanging on your mirror, because it's made out of PETG for one, so it's
Yeah.
heat resistance. It can sit in the sun for years and not melt. So like you could hang this on your car, your rearview mirror, your backpack, your monitor, your cup, wherever the fuck you want, you can hang this thing. So it's a really universal, simple thing. It only cost me like 50 cents of material to make, but it's the time factor. At 3 hours a pop, like even if I did sell it for $3, we'll say $3.50. Say I make $3 profit for each one of these. Well, in order to live off of that money, I'd
You
have to
have
sell hundreds of
hundreds.
these.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, yeah, the profit margin astronomical. I'm making $3 for every 50 cents, but I'd have to sell so many of them, and the fact that I can only make one every 3 hours, even if I made them non-stop, I can, what is that? 8 a day
Yeah.
tops, and that's if I time it perfectly. So
Well,
it's
that's
probably more realistically like 7
And
days a
and
year.
none of them screw up and come out perfect every print.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that part is negligible.
well, and that's where marketing comes in. That's where networking and getting your product out there comes in, and that's a big part of selling. It's one thing to manufacture, it's one thing to sell, but getting your product out there, it's a completely separate thing. Um,
Yeah, but you have to have the means to to meet the supply and demand, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I have a $300 printer that can only make me $35 a day.
Yeah.
Like, so even if I wanted, I would have to make an investment and then
See the returns.
start. Well, yeah, to see the returns, but I meant as far as it wouldn't do me any good to get out there and get my name known if I don't have the machines to back it up.
well, and the idea comes behind it too, like, getting an idea or a product out there that, isn't just going to appeal to a niche market as far as like, people that want to buy products like us, like knickknacks and collectors. You have to you're essentially selling a specialty item that not a lot of people will buy, because somebody like us three will buy something like that because it's fucking cool, it's dynamic, and you can put it anywhere and look at it at any point of the day, and it might
Bring you some joy.
give you joy when you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So that's a very small market. So it is a tough business, and I can understand that. But at the same time, do you enjoy doing it?
Well, yeah, but I just meant like this will never be a business, not unless we got some huge funding or one of us retired or something.
Yeah.
It's
And
just
that,
not feasible unless you actually have a room with like 24 printers going and you're getting on Etsy and eBay and everywhere else. And
yeah, and I think that's a big part of what you're doing. You're creating something that you enjoy. You made a tiny dinosaur, fancy dinosaur that's hanging, and you've been playing with it nonstop. So clearly, like, you enjoy it.
well, that's just because I can't. I'm a fidgeter. I gotta. I'll end up with my hands behind my head, just looking like
Yeah.
a retard. Unless
If
I'm
you don't
doing
give him
something.
something to fidget with, he's gonna tap on his desk and you can hear it through the
Yeah.
microphone.
I'm like a
Yeah.
5-year-old. I gotta get something. I'm either just
and
zoned out with a
and there's a
100-mile
lot of
stare, or I'm
people
visioning with something.
and there's a lot of people that will do the same, and they'd love fidgeting with fancy dinosaur man. Let me ask you this, as far as like your ladder goes, is that something that you do want to achieve, like be able to buy multiple 3D printers so you can push product out quicker?
Yes and no. The problem with that is currently space. So my ladder would first have to get to a point that I can get a bigger, better house, and then, like, honestly, I'd be willing to put forth the money now if I had the space for it. Like, I'd be more than willing to donate for another printer. Like, that's basically how we got the resin printer. Was I
Yeah.
donated a little bit, Jason donated a little bit, RUM-Gaming only paid like 50%. I mean, it's just the space thing. Like, this
Yeah.
whole of an entire dresser, or one entire room wall of this room is dedicated to 2 3D printers. So I would have to have
I mean,
basically a room dedicated to it.
that particular space could be maximized a little more. You could pull the shelves out and put 3D printers in underneath the
Well, yeah.
the
I mean, I could fit
dresser.
more on one wall. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. Like I could have 6 printers on this wall, but then there's the heat.
Oh yeah.
So the heat
Yeah.
and the noise, I wouldn't be able to work
And
in
then
this room
imagine
while
your
6
electric
printers are
bill.
going. The electric's not minimal. We did the math when we first started. It's like 2 cents an hour for
Yeah.
electric. Like it's nothing. But between the noise and the heat, like I would almost like have to have like a window unit in here if I had a wall of printers going. And
Yeah.
because of the noise, I wouldn't be able to game or work from home here. Like I said, I need a separate room. If we were to like say stay in this house, like maybe when Grace moves out, we could turn her room into a 3D printing room, sure. But ideally, I'd rather have it like if I. You remember that house that we looked at, right? That had the detached like workshop out there.
Yeah.
Like that's what I would do. I would turn a
Yeah.
section of that second building on the property into the 3D building farm. That way, I don't have to worry about keeping it cool.
Yeah.
I just got to keep the printer from overheating. That's about all I got to do there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be like comfortable enough for me to stay in the room.
Yeah, you could slap a window unit in there, set it to fucking 78, and
Yeah,
let it cook.
it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's not outside the realm of possibilities, but it really has nothing to do with the ladder. It's really just about space, really. So until I move, I basically just can't do it. Now, once
Okay.
we move, then it's just a matter of like, I pitch in $100, Jason pitches in $100, we buy a printer.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is more of like a passion hobby for you rather than like a moneymaker.
Oh,
Like
yeah. I mean,
Well,
Rum Gaming's
yeah.
existence is a pure passion. That's all it ever was. That's what it'll continue to be moving forward, as a passion project.
Yeah, which is
Gotcha.
also why it's slow moving.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
why-
because you have to remember our origins, right? We started out as a small little gaming clan in Space Engineers, and moved into like a more of a, gaming community. We started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we got to the point now where we've got, 200-300 members in our Discord. Our website was, getting some pretty decent traction that we were using to run, all our different groups and clans and the games that we played, that we were like, you know what, let's evolve this into something bigger than us.
Sure.
Well, it started off with us getting donations for running gaming servers,
Yeah.
and then we had this X amount of money, but wasn't running a server anymore. We're like, well, what can we do with this money that isn't just putting it in our pockets? And that's where we had the brainchild of, well, why don't we do something for veterans? That'd be cool. And kind of the mixed benefit to that is it's an organization that is so low maintenance that it could die for 2 years and start back up,
Yeah.
because it's just, if somebody asks for a print, we make it and ship it to them. If they don't, it just sits there. Like,
Yeah.
it's not hurting anything by not gaining traction.
Yeah. There's no overhead.
Yeah,
Really.
Sure.
I mean, other than to maybe keep the website running,
yeah. I mean, there's a little bit. Yeah, we got the website, the email, the post office box. There's a few expenses, but I mean, honestly, me and Jason can cover the entire annual cost of RUM-Gaming out of our own pocket, and it really wouldn't hurt us.
No.
So then
The only
that piques the question: what's the ladder for RUM-Gaming? I mean,
Well,
other
That
than
is
that's
that
what I
is
was
a
about
good
to
other
question.
than other
Well,
than
this-
just doing what you guys do and enjoy it. I mean, is there a goal? for
Yeah,
RUM-Gaming?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think our biggest goal that we've talked about pretty extensively over the years and throughout this whole process is the ultimate goal is to give away PCs, like whole built gaming PCs. And honestly, to veterans,
random people.
to veterans, and the goal is to be giving away as many as we can build, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
basically, there's no cap on RUM-Gaming's ladder.
Yeah,
It's just the speed in which we climb that infinite ladder is really up to us.
Yeah. I mean,
which-
could we picture Rum being on the the same level as an organization like Regiment? Like, oh yeah, absolutely, I could. But will we ever get there? the likelihood, I don't know. I'm not so sure.
I mean, it's always in
But
the realm of possibilities.
it is always possible, and it is something that I think we could handle if the time came. But it's a slow moving ladder climb.
Yeah, I feel like you again, the pace in which we climb the ladder is all up to me and Jason for the most part. But if it ever did start climbing faster than we make the climb, I feel like we're mentally ready for it. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty. Again, the organization's so simple, it's easy to rapidly climb. Like if we started just getting a bunch of donations, like I would find a way. I would start looking for a new house
Yeah.
to go in, or I'd rent a place or borrow a place or something if I had to. You know,
I mean, hell, you could get air conditioned fucking storage unit.
yeah, like I'd make it happen if we had the money. If I didn't have the space, I'd make the space, or I'd find the space, and then, or worst case scenario, I'd be like, yeah, we can only do the, you know, even if I stuck with just the 3 printers that we have, I'd be like, well, fine, you know, that's just more money for the PC building part.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can't increase how many 3D prints I'm giving out, but we can easily increase how many gaming computers I'm giving out. Like, I could build 1 computer a day in my spare time if we had the funding.
Yep.
So, I mean, the sky's the limit as far as RUM-Gaming's ladder. And, you know, if it got really, really, really crazy, well, then shit. As a nonprofit, you can still pay your volunteers. Like, one of us could, or both of us, you know, if it really got crazy, could theoretically work for RUM-Gaming if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, sky is easily, not easily, there's no limit to RUM-Gaming's ladder. It's just how fast we get there, who knows? It's really just up to us and, you know, a certain amount of luck.
Yeah, I was gonna say right place, right time, luck.
Because even if we pushed and pushed and pushed every day, 4 hours a day, well, it's still a matter of reaching the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I love seeing that you guys have such a cool passion project that you guys like to do. And again, not having any kind of cap. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, and part of the, you know, besides the fact that it's just me and Dragon slow playing RUM-Gaming, it's also been a learning curve that's been
pretty steep.
to a mild extent, you know, somewhat scary in some instances where it's like you don't want to burn any bridges or step on any toes or you know, give anybody the wrong impression. And you know, we didn't really know what we were doing. We just had this idea, and it's not like, and finding information about how to
make it work.
That ride the gray line of a nonprofit where it's like, where can or can't you make money? How can or can't you sell things? Like, it's so weird.
There's a lot of red tape. A lot of red tape.
Well, it's I mean, red tape doesn't really feel like the right word. Red tape means like all I gotta do is find a way to get through the red tape. Problem is, I don't even know where the tape is.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I know there's tape out there, but it's like I'm trying to find a pinata blindfolded, and it's just out in the field somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's resources out there. There's other nonprofits that are literally a nonprofit set up to help other nonprofits.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like we described, we're such a simplistic nonprofit that it actually hurts us when it comes to getting help.
Yeah.
Like other nonprofits are like, you file for a $20,000 a year grant and you have to come up with a budget that accommodates $20,000. And I'm like,
fuck,
our budget is like 1,000.
Yeah.
And that's me stretching it. I'm like, we're so low profile that it's like hard to even fill out the forms for grants.
Our operating cost is somewhere around like $1,100 or something like that. Not even.
I could pull it up real quick. I changed it recently. But yeah, it's because of that, it almost makes it challenging. Like you look at these guides for like how to be a successful nonprofit, and it's like, well, first you get your 20 board members together, and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa. So it's
like we had 3 people.
interesting.
we officially have 3 board members.
So here we go. There's the budget. It's $1,334 a year.
Yeah.
And that's
A year.
well, and that's if, well, some of that needs to be adjusted because shipping prices have gone up a lot. But that's based off of our goal of 10 3D prints mailed out to veterans a month and 1 gaming computer a year, I think was on. PC shipping. Oh, no, that was just the shipping because we were hoping to get donated parts.
Yeah.
We would just have to pay for the shipping on the computer. So that was like business cards, 3D printing shipping, PC shipping, 3D printing materials, our domain name. If we were to add Discord Nitro, website, email, PO box, and some promo items like the stickers and the handout resin coins and stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is
cards.
like stretching out the budget just to make, I mean, not really make up some things, but because like the original budget was like $500.
And we're like, come on.
It's like, I can't be like, hey, can you give me $500 a year? They're like laugh at you. So we're trying to make it, fluff it up a little bit. So we fluffed it up, but that's kind of the awkward thing where we say, there's no limit to our ladder. That's the budget right now. Right now, fluffed up is $1,300 a year. But you start giving me funding. Good night.
Good night, Grace.
But if we had funding, then shit, then my filament cost is, that's how much our filament cost is per year for 1 printer, $300 a year. If we had a farm of 10 of those, well then shit, I need $3,000 a year just to cover the filament cost.
Yeah.
So
Well, and what would you make that would give you a return? Yeah, that's the whole question with that. I think that.
Well, that's the thing. That's why we're trying to do these flea markets, and we've tried going down the avenue of getting like nonprofit grants and stuff. But the other problem with that is those are more geared towards very specific things like finding housing for veterans or educating veterans or health care for like more major, bigger things than what we're doing. And that's the other struggle is like we're such a little offshoot little organization that we don't even fit the requirements for a lot
For some of
people's
these, yeah.
grants and whatnot.
Yeah.
I forgot, what was your question? I started answering it and then forgot.
I didn't even really have a question. It was more of just like if you did end up getting to that point where you climbed that ladder where you were able to make a farm, it's more about like making that product. And again, I'm not gonna butt in and like tell you how to do your business, but it's what the question is, like making a product, 3D printing a product that you can have a big return on versus making really cool little things that appeal to a small market versus making a product. Like, did you guys ever see that like stupid video, that guy that 3D printed like a cup holder that attached to his controller?
Yeah.
He attached to his like functional stuff like that you can mass sell and have a comfortable return on would be the like direction that you'd probably want to look at as far as like
as a
farm.
As a nonprofit, the goal, right, the perfect case scenario is we're only pulling enough to cover costs, right? Hence nonprofit. We shouldn't be out to make a profit off of this stuff. We should be out to achieve our mission and cover costs.
That's what I think he's talking about, though. If we actually made it to the point that we had the 3D printing farm, how are we going to maintain the cost?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because right
Yeah.
now, like I said, our budget for film is
return.
$300. If we had 30 printers or 10 printers, that's $3,000.
Yeah.
So how would we, say we were getting all those orders, enough orders for 10 printers going at one time, then we're knocking out 100 prints a month. Well, hell, that's $3,000 a year in filament. That's also
I
going to
mean,
10 times our shipping costs.
I feel like
so on and so on.
I feel like there's a lot of factors that we're forgetting about here, because if you really think about it, if we're making it that popular, right? And this is all assumption based, right? This is all hypothetical. But hypothetically, if we were making that kind of money to have a farm like that, right? You can also likely assume that our social medias are doing a lot better. The Twitch stream is paying dividends. The YouTube could possibly be paying dividends. We're getting, more exposure. We're probably doing other events, like actual like donation streams, and we're actually seeing a good return off of that. Like, there are things like our marketing strategy is actually being paid for. Like, we're actually paying for marketing. Like, there's a lot of things that if we were at that point, that we would also be doing on top of that to supplement that we may not be thinking about as well.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, is the ultimate goal is not what can I sell or what would it take for me to sell to maintain those costs. It's how can I get that money for free?
Yeah.
And the hopes is, as a nonprofit, compared to a normal business, like the 3D printing business in town, that's their goal. They're trying to find that mass produced item because that's their business.
Yeah.
My goal as a nonprofit is how can I
give away
get you to just give me the money?
Yeah, and give away computers. Let's not forget that. Our main goal is to give away computers, not do 3D printing.
No, our main goal is 3D printing.
Well, no, our main goal was computers, and it became 3D printing when we realized how outlandish computers were with how minimal operation we are.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a side shoot. But, eventually, or it could be both. But regardless, as far as just maintaining a much higher cost of operation, is my hopes would be that the more popular we get, the easier it is to actually get grants and donations and sponsorships, like, and I use, again, going back to Jason with his regiment note. I don't know if you know who Regiment is, Peter, or anybody watching the stream, but they're another nonprofit veteran organization. It's a gaming community veteran organization, and they're simply just a gaming community. That's it. They don't sell or do anything. They're just a veteran gaming organization. But they had a larger group of people. Instead of just me and Jason, they had like 10 people get together and say, let's make this happen.
Yeah.
And they had people with more
investment
financial well, it's a fancier way of saying it. Let's say people did just more money than us. But yeah, they had more investment capabilities to get the ball rolling faster.
Yeah.
And they've only been around, God, I want to say it was like 4 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
They've been around less than RUM-Gaming. It was like a year or two less than RUM-Gaming.
And they're like well over triple size.
Size is one thing, but just in the last like 6 months, they're now being sponsored by USAA, which is the military or banking branch. They're also sponsored by the VFW. They were just on, God, what was the magazine cover? They were just like on the cover of one of the like top veteran magazines.
Yeah.
Like, they've made huge leaps just in the last 6 months. And they're constantly getting like sponsored for like $3,000 Call of Duty tournaments and stuff. Like, they're also, giving away computers because they're just like getting sponsors and backings just, hand over foot. And using that as an example of what we're talking about, is like basically the more popular they got,
the more free stuff they got.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's the simple way of saying it. Like, how would we cover cost? My hopes is the same way they are. Just keep getting more and more popular, more and more sponsors.
Well, and I'm
just
sure
kind of balances out.
Kind of back to my comment. I feel like marketing has a huge play in that.
Yeah.
I mean, right now with social media, you can pay a marketing expert to expose you on TikTok, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, and that's probably the biggest direction that a lot of these companies are going to be taking right now.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is just, with us being so small, it's hard to justify doing that. Oh, look,
Yeah.
3D print just finished.
Yeah, I mean, and I think at least on that front, our social media presence has definitely gotten better and better. I mean, I think our live product, the live streams that we're doing regularly now, which is I think is a big accomplishment. The quality just keeps getting better. Like, it's just things are going good. I think we're slowly but surely growing.
We're making our slow and steady progress.
Yeah.
Speaking of going good, and climbing the ladder, Jason, you just bought a house.
Yeah, we're buying a house, man. I'm really fucking stoked about it, and it was something that I've been stressing about a lot lately. And I still will until it's actually done. But, like I said, one of the exercises that Goat has myself and I'm sure a couple other people doing for a future stream is we're, lining out our actual cost of living. We have a spreadsheet that we're filling out with all of our expenses versus our income, and it gives you kind of a base, readout of, your incoming and outgoing finances, and then you have, your remaining at every month. And the results of the spreadsheet that I filled out was optimistic, to say the least.
Yeah, I'd fill out that homework assignment.
Yeah.
Wait, did somebody give it to you too?
No.
No.
Oh, you said you
Just
fail. I
I'd
said
fail.
I filled out that homework.
No,
assignment.
I'd fail that homework assignment. The life of a salesman is not.
Oh,
as
it's tough to budget. It's
guaranteed.
tough to
Yeah.
budget when you're commissioned, man, because your check could be $200 one month, and then it could be, $6,000 the next. You never know.
Oh, it's feast or famine. So
Yeah.
I'd fail at that.
But yeah,
That's
I
what
mean,
I liked about the position at Sears. I don't know if I mentioned this when we went over our jobs, but I was really looking forward to that position at Sears, being the manager and the lead of commercial sales, because I got my annual salary as well as commission off of any commercial sales that I made. So I was looking forward to getting out there, literally door to door, going to shops trying to convince them to buy tires from Sears.
yeah.
Because that was going to be great to have a salary where you
I
make at least this much, but then potentially have the bigger commission check every month.
So I got lucky. That was my first job. Was going door to door.
That makes salesman right there, man.
I had a salary. I had a $900 a week salary, but anything that I sold door to door, I got commission on. So it was a good intro. Excuse me. It was a good intro to sales, and it taught me that, okay, great, I have a cushion, and also I get to make as much money as the effort that I want to put in. And then even in the position that I'm in now, I started off with a salary, but the last 2 years, I'm strictly commission, and it's definitely been feast or famine.
Yeah. I know that life. I've been there. But I think I've both the wife and I have seen pretty significant financial success the past couple of years. We were, not too long ago, I remember we were in a pretty rough spot. And to see where the fact that I'm even saying that we're buying a fucking house is just mind blowing to me.
No, that's definitely a step in the ladder.
To a certain extent. I mean, on one hand, as long as you time it properly to, I forget the actual wordage, but I think it's after 5 years, if you can buy a house and then 5 years later sell it and not lose anything on it. In a sense, it's wiser to keep buying houses until you're settling versus renting.
Yeah.
100%.
Because I feel like that's going to be my lesson to Grace. If you move out, fuck renting.
Yeah.
Buy a house at age 20.
Yep.
But just make sure that you're going to live here for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And the tough variable is the market. I mean,
Yeah.
you're buying right now in a very high market.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
buying it at one of the worst times to buy, but the great thing is, and I'm no real estate expert, Peter. You could probably school me in this, but I feel like at least my local market for my area is fairly predictable, especially in the area that we bought the house. The area that we bought the house in Katy, right, in actual Katy, which is already a fairly expensive area. But the area of Katy that we bought the house in has not been um, built out yet. So there's still a lot of empty fields. There's still a lot of things that are going to be built in that area that are just going. It doesn't really matter what the market's going to do. The house is going to gain value.
and let me ask you this: is Katie being developed? Is it
Yes,
developing?
constantly. And the area that we built the house isn't fully developed yet.
Well, and even if you look at it as the greater Katy area there, like I pointed out to Dragon when I was looking at like Zillow,
Yeah.
if you look at just every house for sale right now, any price, it looks like a connect the dots for a Pac-Man. And the mouth goes over the entire quarter of the greater Houston area where Katy is,
Yeah.
where there's just nothing
Yeah.
available right
Yeah. No, everybody
And that
wants to live in Katy right now.
and that's a big tell. I mean, supply and demands, real estate 101.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm the first one to admit that our house is probably a little bit more than we should be spending. Can we make it work? Yes, we can make it work, and I'm very, very thankful for that. But again, even being so unavailable and so expensive, I know without a shadow of a doubt, by the time I'm ready to sell the house or get rid of the house, I'm going to make money off of it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because like I said, the area hasn't been developed yet. It's only going to get more developed and gain value.
And I'm going to
Right.
play the devil's advocate unless the market crashes, which we are on the
And and
brink of a market crash. We have
and
extremely high interest rates, and it's really sketchy right now. We're on the last year. We're on the last panic year of a market, and it's a little scary because prices are about to drop next year everywhere.
yeah, and I really think if that does happen, not if, when that does happen, that's okay. The house that we're buying,
Especially
the house that we're buying is a nice house. We don't have to leave. Like if we want to sit there for 20, 25 years in that house, we can do that. The house it's a nice house.
Yeah, I was like, effectively, it could just be the last house you buy.
Yeah.
Theoretically, yeah.
and that's important when home buying. And I would say this to you, like, again, more of my scare, devil's advocate, suburbs out of a major city are going to suffer the most when this market does go down. Reason being is, COVID caused a mass exodus out of any major city.
Mm-hmm.
I experienced it. Now I'm in vacation real estate. However, it still created a mass exodus out of any major city. So suburbs are extremely high right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Things that are
Well,
selling for 400 pre-COVID were selling for 275,
yeah,
300.
yeah, 100%. But let me counter that devil's advocacy for a second here. When the market does crash, we'll have reached the point where we can refinance. We can wait for that crash, refinance our house for a lower interest rate.
And that's what you're going to want to do because the interest rates are really high. So once you get to that point, you can refinance and you should be all right. But it's only going to decrease your monthly payment. I mean, your
That's
your
fine.
home your home value is still going to fluctuate.
Yeah, but hey, the monthly payment is all I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I get that. But when you're buying a home, a huge thing to consider is equity. So you're gonna sink more equity into your home by refinancing. But listen, everybody's different. It's if you feel comfortable buying a house, you should. And it's no there's no if ands or buts about it. You should buy a house.
Yep.
You should stop sinking money into rent. I'm
Yep.
doing it personally, and I'm kind of a hypocrite because I live right now in a luxury apartment, but I don't want to buy right now. Not able to buy right now. In my area, the Lehigh Valley is like the number one up and coming spot in America right now that's being developed. And the reason being is because we're right over New Jersey. So everybody from New Jersey who doesn't want to pay Jersey taxes is coming over to Pennsylvania. I live right on the border. They're coming over to Pennsylvania to work and live, lesser taxes. So my market is insane right now.
Yeah.
Like insane, insane. And there's the city that I live in. There's stuff being developed, 100-year-old buildings that are being revamped into luxury apartments to accommodate all kinds of people. There's housing developments that are popping up left and right. I'm not able to buy, and I'm not really willing to buy right now with the interest rates and the costs.
Yeah. Sure.
But listen, you're able to buy. You're ready to buy. You should buy.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing that I tell people. And right now, I'm struggling with interest rates. Nobody wants to buy because of interest rates.
Yeah.
My monthly payments have doubled since pre-pandemic, and it's really put a strain on my personal income because I can't sell anything if nobody's willing to pay
Yeah.
$900 a month because pre-pandemic it was $400 a month.
Yeah.
The interest rates are absolutely destroying one half of my business right now.
Yeah.
And besides that, I mean, again, I work in vacation real estate, so it's not as crazy as general real estate. My prices increased, property prices increased like 35%, and it's still kind of driving, let's say, 3 out of 5 buyers away because they were looking pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
mind
now
you,
that they're ready, it's
Yeah.
drastically different.
these are people, most of my demographics are out of New York, New Jersey. So we're talking about the highest cost of living, almost the highest cost of living, no, second highest cost of living in the country. So you're talking about people that live in apartments, homes that are 2/3 the value of what they are in Pennsylvania. And they're complaining about interest rates, they're complaining about costs, and it's tough. It's really, I've had to, like, the last, let's say, year and a half, I've really had to put in my tool belt what it's actually kind of hard to explain because, like, telling somebody it's not that much more before pre-pandemic, even though it is.
Yeah.
And telling somebody that, even though it's not $100,000 house and it's now not $200,000, it's you're spending $50,000 versus $75,000 now.
Yeah.
So I deal with more cash in hand buyers. We don't mortgage. So that kind of break and that window of that difference of cost is pretty astronomical to people because
Yeah.
remember, this isn't like what I sell. It's a niche. It's not for people looking for a home. It's vacation community. It's
Yeah.
it's people looking to spend $50,000 to $75,000 average cash in hand for their summer home,
Yeah.
and it's just not the same when you're talking 2 to 275. It's the difference in the mortgage is $100, $250 at best.
So let me ask you this: what for an average, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house? What's the average more like going rate in your area?
So what I sell are only 400 square feet.
Right.
Okay, I sell eighth of an acre lots, eighth of an acre empty lots that are about average 5,000 square feet. Our empty lots jumped up from 12,000 to $20,000 a lot. Okay.
Jesus.
The actual unit itself, the 400 square foot unit that we sell, they don't build 3 bedrooms. They build 2 bedrooms with lofts.
Right.
Go just for your thing, because I don't think I've ever explained this, but I basically sell tiny homes.
Yeah.
You mentioned that at the beginning. But
Yeah,
I
it's
figured that when you said the square footage.
12,
Jeez.
12
That's
feet
a
by 33 feet.
that's
The
a
most
campground cabin.
Yeah.
it is. It is. It's exactly right. That's what we are. We're a recreational campground. The average price, it's hard because we've been around since 81, so there's a lot of old trailers, there's a lot of trailers from the 90s, a lot of trailers from the early 2000s. Price fluctuates. The average price of a buyer coming into my office is like 50 to $60,000.
Right.
Okay. And what that gets you is usually like a trailer from the 90s, a 1 bedroom that's still a multi sleeper, could sleep like 4 to 6 on a good lot with, a deck and a shed and maybe a gazebo or a Florida room for extra
Right.
seat space. And I would say that price range used to be like 30 to 40 pre-pandemic. Now it's like 50 to 60.
Yeah.
So the average price range of people coming in is a lot of money cash in hand, because you can't mortgage what we have because it's such a niche market.
Right.
These are people spending their own hard-earned money. Now, mind you, we talked about cost of living earlier. Okay,
Yeah.
we're talking about people that have businesses or are working in New York and New Jersey. We get a little bit of Philly, but not much. People that have jobs that are able to they're able to spend on a summer home like this. They're able to throw down $50,000-$60,000 cash
Yeah.
after 2 years of saving. Even more so people from New York. People from New York, especially like any of the 5 boroughs, you pick Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Long Island. That's usually the main demographics from people from New York. You're talking most people that come to buy in my community are business owners. And listen, I mean, I just sold to a guy that owns a sub shop downtown my town, and he has 3 rental properties that he Airbnbs like one or two of them, and he has the other 1 or 2 are rental properties. He's clearing over $100,000 just in rental properties a year, mind you, the business that he owns.
Right.
So, for him right now, he's buying a $40,000 empty lot close to the lake that we have, and he's putting down like $30,000 on a brand new trailer. Mind you, he's buying an empty lot, so he's also going to spend another like 20-30 grand on, building a deck, shed,
Yeah.
gazebo,
Yeah.
and landscaping the lot. So, the cost of living is way different, especially for a business owner in a metropolitan city.
What
And he
about
owns
what about normal houses, right? Like 1,400 square foot.
So my area kind of experienced a big boom still as far as like the general real estate market. Good example was the old house that I used to live in. It was a $120,000 house, 1,100 square foot, 1 acre lot, and it was on the market. It had sold for like 130,000 maybe.
Hmm.
Probably right now. I mean, my old landlord, he's still renting it, but right now he could probably sell it, and even based on my suggestion, he could probably sell it for like 310, 315. He could put and let me put it to you this way. He could put it up for 310, 315. He'd probably sell it for like 280, 290. And it's a little rural. It wasn't in any major part of the Poconos.
That's
Uh,
expensive. Jeez.
Yeah. See, the Poconos has a huge draw for people from the city. You know, we're only about an hour and a half from New York and various parts of New Jersey. 2 hours from like Long Island, Manhattan.
Yeah.
So my area it's a big the demographic is New York, New Jersey, and it has been since from what I know, at least the 80s. The 80s, there was a huge boom in the Poconos, and that's what really drew people was from New York, New Jersey to have a summer home,
Yeah.
spend their extra cash on a place that they could drop the kids off, uh, June to August, you
Right.
know. So there was a big boom. I'd say right now, the area that my office is in, I'm in like the last Pocono. I'm like 20 minutes south of Scranton. So I'm just like right on where I work is right on the like edge of the mountain range.
Yeah.
I would say in my area, which is a huge, really nice school district, average home probably sold for like 120 to 175. Right now, things are selling for like high twos, low threes.
Okay, so that's kind of about where we are in Houston as well. 'Cause my house was 288. And it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1388 square foot. Nothing super special, but nice. And then we were looking at on a previous episode. I don't know if we streamed it or not. But we were looking at some of the property in Goats area, and it's like for that kind of money, I could get like a 4 bedroom, 3 bath, like fucking almost
2,000
3,000,
square feet.
2,000 square foot, 2-story house for the same price. And it's like, oh my God, it's expensive out here.
No, it's all about area. So
Yeah.
go where do you live as far as like proximity to downtown Houston?
He lives in
10
Oklahoma.
hours away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He
Yeah, they're in
lives,
all another state.
you live what, 2 hours, an hour and a half from Tulsa?
No, 30 minutes from Tulsa.
Okay. 30 minutes from Tulsa in a little town called Bartlesville.
So you in the boonies.
Yeah.
Kind of. So it's one of the cities that Phillips 66 and the Conoco and Phillips 66 oil companies. So it's a small town, but it's not like boony small town. I mean,
I got you, and that's kind of the area that I live in. Like I'm instead of like you guys, I'm more mountainous, so it's a lot of the towns that are in the Poconos are mountain towns. Very small, very small. Christ, very densely connected. And I mean, the closest thing that we live to is Philly metropolitan. I mean, we're in a tri-state area, but obviously, the further you get away from the metropolitan city is lesser home values, where you can get a lot more land, a lot more house
Mm-hmm.
for equal price to something 30 minutes from Houston, surrounded by commercial businesses and
Yeah.
roadways and stuff like that. It's I mean, that's the whole ideal behind a metropolitan city.
Yeah. I mean, prices for Houston don't start dropping until you get to be like an hour, 2 hours outside of downtown. Like,
Right.
well, yeah, depending on traffic.
yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
I still remember when I was working in downtown Sears, my mom always said, "Oh, why don't you come for dinner after work?" And I'm like, no.
It's an hour and a half drive.
Yeah, like it's gonna take me 90 minutes to get there. Like, no.
It's like, yeah, it's only 20 miles, but it's going to take me an hour and a half.
That's always the joke I've tried to share with people, that like in Houston, you don't go by miles, you go by time.
Yeah.
Like miles
like, how far-
don't mean shit in Houston.
It's like, where do you live? Oh, I live about 20 minutes out.
Yeah.
So something I wanted to tell you, Jason, like as far as cost of living and price and stuff like that, it was really interesting. So the Korean barbecue place that you took me to,
Yeah.
that it was a nice place inside, and it was really good food. The price,
It was
so there,
expensive.
well, I would tell you this: so there was a Korean barbecue place that just opened up 20 minutes away from us, and there's a Korean barbecue place that's right down the street from me, but it's like a hole in the wall. It's like an old diner, and it's
Right.
good food, but not like your typical Korean barbecue place. Um, Chris, who you met,
Yeah.
and his girlfriend Julia, they were in town 2 weeks ago, and I took him to this new joint. And for me, Katie, her daughter Ella, and uh, Chris and his girlfriend, for the five of us, it was like half the cost, and it was a nice
Yeah.
place, amazing menu. It was buzzing.
You want to
I
know what's
remember
funny?
the place we went to had like nobody in it
Yeah, it was
except for
dead.
us.
Yeah, it was dead.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? There's a Korean barbecue joint that just opened up like 5 minutes from our house, and it's almost double the price of the one we took you to.
Holy.
It is expensive.
See, that's crazy because like Pennsylvania. Okay, so like cost of living. I used to live in DC
Oh, the hot
and like basically Northern Virginia, like the suburbs of DC, and it was relatively expensive compared to where I'm at now. I mean, northeastern Pennsylvania, to get a similar style apartment, like let's just start at an efficiency. Northern Virginia, suburbs of DC, you wouldn't get an efficiency for like 1,200, or I'm sorry, $2,500
Mhm.
was the starting. Up here, you could get an efficiency for like $700-800 when I moved up here 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Now you're probably looking at like nine, maybe $1,000 for an efficiency.
yeah,
Regular like one bedroom apartment, DC area, it'd run you like, oh, $2,700. Now
yeah,
up here it was like $1,200.
yeah. I
And
mean, apartments around here, like single bedroom apartments, are like 19 to like 2,100 a month. It's ridiculous.
Unless you go to the ghetto like we did.
Oh my goodness. And it's like fuck, because we were thinking about it. It's like fuck. I mean, $300 more, we could live in a fucking house.
Yeah.
You know, like what are we doing?
well, that's just it. Like, apartments and not necessarily condos, but apartments, it they're great. They offer a lot of amenities
They're
most of the
convenient.
time.
They're convenient. You're paying
Convenient.
extra for the convenience.
Right. And like I'm paying extra right now to live in a luxury apartment that's comfortable. I pay close to 2 grand a month. And right now in my area, if I wanted to buy, depending like the specific area of Easton, PA, I probably could get a good size house that would fit my needs for like $1,100, $1,000 a month.
Why don't you do that, man? Why are you literally throwing your money away renting?
It's the
Bro,
biggest,
think about the
like,
space you could have for all the cooking you could do.
trust me, it's a constant battle that I live with almost every single day.
Have you seen the kitchen? Have you seen the kitchen at the new house that we're getting?
Yeah, I saw it,
Oh,
and that's the thing too.
bro.
Like, I love my kitchen now. I have a really big apartment and a really good size. And it's like I got 15-foot ceilings, and it's
Yeah.
in an old silk mill, and it just feels nice. So I'm totally paying extra right now just to feel nice and be comfortable, because I feel like I've climbed that ladder step where I deserve it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, I'm not able to buy right now, so it's just and thankfully so, because again, I don't want to be paying a inflated monthly payment.
Yeah, sure.
And I know I don't have to.
Yeah.
I can afford what I have now, live comfortably, and wait till the market eases up a little bit. And in the next 5 years or so, that's when I'm gonna take that step and actually end up buying. Not to say I'm not buying real estate. Real estate is still one of the best investments you can sink your money into.
Yeah.
Um, but right now, it's just buying a house is just out of the question.
Yeah.
We're looking at getting a new house around the 5-year mark as well. We're basically looking at like once Grace moves out, or not moves out, but like once she goes to like the Air Force, then we're gonna find a new house.
Yeah, that's another big point too. It's all about timing. I mean, you've got a family. Children play a big stepping stone in what you do as far as uplifting your house and moving. Or
Well, even long term, like as far as our move, we both work from home now. So on one hand, it's like we can go anywhere.
True.
But at the same time, our kid basically spent her, and when she turns 18, she would have spent 15 years of her life in this town. She's going to graduate high school in this town, make a lot of high school friends and whatnot. And I almost feel like we need to still keep in mind her thoughts whenever we move, even after she's an adult.
So that's a really good point, because for me, my dad was in the military, so we moved every 3-4 years. His father, my grandfather, retired, and they had a childhood home. And every single one of him and his siblings had their own room whenever we went to my grandparents' house. And for me growing up, I hated that, like, I never had a childhood home.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really. I mean, when I drive down to Virginia, I go past the house that I spent the most time in, and I say, yeah, I live there. But it's not like I can go back to my mom and dad for multiple reasons. But it was such a big thing for me growing up. Like, man, I'd love a childhood home that had all my memories in it,
Yeah.
and a room that I
See,
can always go back to. And
the difference in that is, like we discussed last week, that cost of living. Yeah, in the 80s, you could buy your forever home
Yeah.
at age 20.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, no, we got to slowly advance. Like, all right, we're going to get an apartment, and then we're going to get a small rental home, and then we're going to get our starter home, and then maybe by the time I'm 40, I'll have my forever home. Like your kid's going to be 20 years old by the time you have your forever home nowadays.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
so as far as that, childhood home to go up to, like I'm not
Oh,
worried about my kid having
that's
a
gone.
home to go back to.
Our generation, and like the way that we grew up, it's almost the whole forever home and like the childhood home, it's gone. I mean,
Yeah, I'm looking more of her
that
childhood
nuclear
town.
family,
Is all I'm looking at.
doesn't exist anymore.
I mean, the family exists. I mean,
No, the nuclear family, where
like, yeah, I was thinking nuclear,
the
like revolving around each other, not
it's
nuclear era.
yeah, no, nuclear era family, where, like,
Yeah.
it's the father, the man of the house works, the wife is at home,
Yeah.
and
The
the
white picket
kids
fence
live in the
American
same.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gone. That's we're way past that. And it is sad, because the idea of that is nice. Again, I grew up with wanting to have, a room that I could come back to whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
But
But that's just
moving
not
around
possible
every
these
3
days. It's just
years,
not
it's
possible these
gone.
days.
I mean, it isn't. It isn't. You have a family you can go back to nowadays, not
Well, yeah.
the same home. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what we're debating, where it's like we could go anywhere, but should we? Or should we stay near Bartlesville? That way, say Grace only does 2 years in the Air Force, just enough to get her a free college education and gets out. Well, should we keep in mind where we move based on that? Like, What if
Yeah.
she gets out in 2 years and wants to move back near Bartlesville to be near her, high school friends and whatnot? Or maybe she, gets together with a guy and they're both from Bartlesville and they both want to come back to Bartlesville. Well, I can uproot to, New York or something if my kid's going to want to come back to Bartlesville.
Yeah.
I want to stay near my children as well.
Yeah.
And that's really nice because, like, again, like, I would love to go back to what I consider my hometown is Northern Virginia, because I spent 9 years there. That was the only place that I spent more than 3 or 4 years. And I go back to visit friends, but that's it. It's very short
Yeah.
term. I can't go back and, like, visit my parents or, go out and bullshit for a week because there's
All
just
your old high
nothing
school
left.
buddies and shit. It's like,
They're gone.
yeah.
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 That's, I don't even have high school buddies.
Well, it's funny. It's pretty funny because, like, I went off to the Navy, right? And I kept in touch with all my high school friends the best I could, and I come back and all my high school friends are still here. And then, now that I've stayed in Katy, now all of my high school friends are not here anymore. It's like, well, I guess I thought I was going to be the one, to grow up first and leave the city, leave the hometown and, escape the nest, but I ended up being the one still in it,
That's the funny thing. Like, when I go back and see my friends that are still doing the same bullshit 10 years ago, I'm like, I reflect and I'm like, I'm glad that I moved out.
Yeah.
I'm glad I
Again,
moved out.
it's that 3-step ladder. See?
Yeah. Like, I'm doing so much better than a lot of people that are still back in my hometown. I met a girl. This is where I had this, like, lethargic moment where I went back and visited a good friend of mine who I game with, I talk to all the time, and we went out to eat. And there was a girl that was waiting on us, and she was a girl that used to fucking pick on me in high school, and I fucking hated her, and she hated me, and I'm like, man, like, you're still here, like, you're doing this, like, this area doesn't really offer that much if you don't go, because it's a very developed area. So it's like, if you don't go to college and get a big degree and do something with a college degree, you're gonna be bartending or waiting tables. Not there's anything wrong with that. I have so many friends in service, but that's basically where most of my friend group ended up. And I go back and I'm like, but you have the opportunity to do a lot more. But and then that kind of goes back into, like, settling.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I've always had the weird mentality of, like, I don't know. I guess you can call it being cocky, but I always felt like I was too good for something like that. It's like, no, I'm not gonna fucking wait tables. I'm not gonna fucking be a fucking fry chef at McDonald's. I'm better than that. And so I always strove to do something that would offer some credibility. And through doing that, I learned various skills and experience that I earned that rather than getting the job and because I wanted it. Well, no, I have the status that I have now because I've earned it.
And going off of what Peter was saying earlier about that town doesn't really have much to offer. You either have a good degree and a good job, or you're a waitress.
Yeah.
And the difference is nowadays, like us, we both work from home. Yeah, there isn't a lot in this town. You either have a good degree and you move your way up through ConocoPhillips, or you're working at some bullshit job in town.
Yeah.
Like, that's your two options.
Yeah.
Or you work remote.
Yeah.
Like, because the options nowadays for advancing through remote jobs is crazy. Like, that's the one positive thing I could say COVID did for the world, or the US at least, is it opened up a lot of businesses' eyes to we can actually make more money and have better retention levels with people working from home.
Yeah. And then, like, to Shelby's point in the chat, she said she told herself she would never work with food. and now she works in the medical field. And it's like, you talk about capturing a niche in and taking advantage of the environment you live in. I mean, Houston is like the medical capital of the world, you know. So the medical field is really like Houston is the place to be. Like, you're in the place, you know.
Well, and even there, you don't even have to have a good education or big degree to go and just get a better paid job as a nurse somewhere versus being a waitress.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean,
that's
or
the
just
benefits
medical
of being
data entry.
Yeah, I mean, that's
shit.
the benefits of being in a metropolitan area. The access to jobs and opportunities is so much higher. It's like, yeah, I mean, the cost of living may be less and things like that, but the cost of opportunity also weighs pretty heavy as well, you know.
I agree with Ghost. There's a lot of jobs out there that I almost feel like, to a certain degree, like everybody should take part in to an extent.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I said that earlier, right? When Peter said that he first started selling door to door, it's like, man, that's how you really become a salesman. If you can sell door to door, you can sell anything.
When you're selling a ketchup,
I didn't just
Yeah.
start selling door to door. That was my first job.
Well, still,
I started selling when I was in middle school, when I used to buy Hostess fucking Ho-Ohs.
I
and
did the
Twinkies
same thing. I
at
did the
$3 a
same
box,
thing.
and I could sell them in lunch for $1 a pop.
Yep, I did the same thing. I would sell, like, candy and Snickers bars and Twizzlers.
And that means you have that itch. You have that entrepreneurial trait where you want to climb the ladder, you want to build, you want to make money. And a couple things, Ghost, I agree with Ghost where waiting tables does lead to dead end jobs where I've had so many friends that make so much cash bartending in downtown Philly.
Yeah.
And they're walking home with $500 cash every single night.
Yep.
But they get so used to a cash lifestyle where cash is spending. You're getting cash in pocket and you're going and spending it, whether it's that night or you're spending it on something else because in your pocket. It's hard for a lot of people right now because we're so digital. It's hard to save cash.
It's hard to save anything because it's so easy to spend money these days. Like, they've made spending money. The
discussion was.
Yeah, it's so easy to spend money these days.
Oh, it is. And when I have cash, I'm dangerous. When I have cash, I spend it right away.
Yeah.
When I have expendable money in my bank account, I spend it right away too. But even cash more so. And the other point was the whole MLM. That's so funny because it's so true. I can't tell you the number of people that I went to high school that are still stuck in my hometown that have gotten into MLM and different things.
Is anybody going to tell me what it is?
Yeah, I'm a little lost.
Multi-level marketing. It's a pyramid scheme. So you get involved. You get involved in like a energy drink company, and they basically don't want you to sell a product. They want you to recruit people. And you get different perks and bonuses for recruiting people.
I know what a pyramid scheme is. I just thought it was like an actual brand or something. Like what's that one? The Pampered Chef and shit like that.
Well, Pampered Chef is a little different.
Cincy and things, or Mary Kay.
Those are a little different. Those are. I mean, yeah, but those are also more so about selling a product than it is recruiting people. Yeah, that's part of the MO, but they give you a product to sell.
Now,
like with some of these MLMs,
you product to sell, but a lot of it is more so geared towards networking.
Yeah.
And I remember there was two companies that I was going to get. It is because there's two companies that I was going to get involved in, and I remember when I was going door to door, I knocked on doors that guys were trying to recruit, and I ended up having lunch with a guy, and he was like, here's what you do. I want you to meet my team and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, I remember the question was like, what the fuck do you do? Like, what is this? It sounds like a fucking cult,
Yeah.
Like,
dude,
yeah.
Did I tell you about the postcard guy?
Oh, you told me, but you should share that story. Yeah, share that story.
So there's this pyramid scheme. Yeah, I mean it is a pyramid scheme, and it's kind of like you were saying, except worse. They literally don't have anything they sell. All they are doing is convincing other people to mail out these postcards to convince them to buy addresses so that they can mail out postcards. It's just people mailing out postcards, convincing other people to mail out postcards. Like, that's all it is. There's just nothing
Yep.
but people mailing postcards, trying to convince other people to mail postcards out.
Yeah, yeah,
Saying you can make money like me if you convince other people to mail out these
yeah.
postcards.
It's like
And it's like, what the fuck?
my,
Like you look up these websites and the company's fucking crazy because like they will make your own little custom like web page with your name and everything for your postcard for your version of the postcard scheme and everything to like make it look legit. And it's like, talk to me now, watch our videos, come to our seminars. And like, I watched one of these videos and it's literally just saying, like, over and over, wouldn't you like to make a lot of money? What would you do if you had a lot of money? It's
yeah,
really simple. All you got to do is do this
Yep.
and you'll have a lot of money. Just
Yep.
over and over and over, but never actually saying what you do
Oh,
yeah,
to
it's
get
all
that
beating
money.
around
Yeah.
the bush.
yeah.
You're like,
Well, it's like
And
it's
I
funny.
hated it.
It's funny because my uncle tells this joke about how back in the 80s, he wished he'd have thought of a get rich quick scheme where he would take out an ad in the paper, right? And the ad would say, "Send me $1 in the mail, and I'll make you a millionaire." And people send you $1, and you send them a card back that says, "You're welcome." And so if a million people see that ad and send you $1, guess what? I just made $1 million.
yeah. It's the same thing with these postcard things. It's like this dude had to be like 70, and he was coming
Yeah.
in and mailing off like 100 of these every 2 weeks, like 200 postcards, and he's paying the company for the addresses, but then he has to pay for postage. So the only thing they provide is the postcard, but you're buying the postcard. So like you're buying the postcard and the address from them, and then you go to the post office and buy the stamp. So the dude is paying like $1 per postcard.
So
It's all it's
I never forget this because it's actually like a real thing. It's all about capitalism in this country and making money off of other people. That scene where Andy has a seminar about something that he's trying to sell, like, how to I forget exactly what, but how to be better at selling. He's trying to sell, he's having a seminar, and the one dude says, "Oh, I'm making dividends on credit card payments." He's like, "I'm making like 5 cents here, 10 cents on credit card payments." That's literally all it is, just capitalizing on other payments that makes passive income.
Yeah.
And that's when he started realizing, like, oh yeah, these people do have good ideas. That in itself, that whole, like, I'll make 5 cents when everybody makes a credit card payment,
yeah.
that's literally the pinnacle of
That's the
making
dream.
money off of
That's
other
the
people
dream, right?
passively
It's
and
like
doing absolutely nothing.
it's like the Bitcoin farming stuff.
Yeah.
Or not Bitcoin, that whole currency, I forget what it's called, but the e-currency.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is just having
Cryptocurrency.
yeah, it's basically all that's just making money off of people spending other money.
Yeah.
That's all it is, and that's a market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, because we need to start wrapping it up. What's the other one? It's Mary Kay, and what was the major competitor?
Amway.
Avon.
Amway.
I
Avon.
Amazon.
Avon.
How the fuck is it
Avon.
Avon? Yeah,
Avon.
they said
Amway.
Amazon.
No,
Amway was the big
I'm-
door-to-door company pyramid scheme.
I messed around with
Well, it's
Amway
not
for a
the
little
mega.
while. When I was in the Navy, I messed around with Amway for a while. I went to a couple of seminars.
Yeah, Amway was a big one that I almost got involved with. I got involved with a big energy drink company briefly. And they were like, it was just promoting networking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
basically getting more people to follow whatever you were saying so you could get a BMW.
Yeah.
Well, same
And
thing
the
with
thing is like the people they
because
plant to do that kind of shit, they look the part too, man. They've always got the nice tailored suits on, and they've always got the fancy car. Like the guy that drug me in, I had just like changed duty stations, and I went into an Xfinity store to fucking get my internet hooked up, and the guy that like owned that particular store happened to be working the counter that day, and he started talking to me about this Amway shit. I was like, oh, well, look at this guy. He owns his own little franchise of Xfinity. He drives this really nice car. He's got this tailored suit. You know, can't be too
Oh,
bad, right?
the scary part for me is I had a coworker that got involved in like selling like cheap jewelry online, and she made a fucking killing. She like totally dove into it, was able to build her own $500,000 house, and she just was working a normal office job and doing it on the side. And they, like, whatever the company was, they flew her out to Vegas, did all these things. It's scary because there is success in it,
yeah, for
but
some people.
it's all about
Who you know?
like with sales. Nah, not so much who you know. It's all about the effort that you put into it, because that kind of shit does work when you sink yourself into it.
Yeah.
If
If
you
you
really
fully invest,
devote
yeah,
if you really devote yourself into the time, and it's and it's
Reminds me of 3D printing.
yeah,
it's just like sales. Like it's one of the excuse me, it's one of those things where you can make as much money as you decide to go out. If, like, the way that I look at it with my job, I can go out and talk to 100 people, and with door to door, it really put it into perspective. It was a numbers game. If you talk to 100 people, 10 of those people will actually have a conversation with you. Out of 10 of those people, if 5 of those people have an in-depth conversation, it's called introing, then out of those 5 people, as long as you sold 2 of them, then you made your numbers. So 100 to 10 to 5 to 2, it was a numbers game.
yeah,
Well, that's
So
just like we recently went to one of those, like, come listen to us talk for a free dinner kind of things. It's that same concept. You pay for 10 dinners, and out of those 10, as long as you make one sale, you cover the cost of dinner and then some.
yeah,
Well, and in sales, that's a big thing. You get a big payoff for your time. So, like, it's hard to put my time into a monetary value because, okay, let's say I make $5,000 on a sale. I may spend 3 hours doing so. So it's like one of those things where I divide that into my time spent and time earned, but at the same time, I can go a week without talking to somebody.
yeah,
When you're selling, when you're manufacturing, when you're building, your time spent doing so is a lot greater than the time spent selling. And the ROI is hard to determine because you can, I mean, listen, I'll never forget when I worked at a car dealership. My one of
Hmm.
my one of my first jobs. Actually, it was my first job. I worked in parts and service. I was the cashier for a Chrysler and Jeep dealership. I'd go up to the sales department and there'd be salesmen sleeping.
yep,
And I never forgot, because there's times where you're just doing absolutely nothing for hours and days on end. I had salesmen that would give me a couple bucks if I got, because I answered the phones. I took all the incoming phone calls for the dealership,
hmm
parts, service, and sales. I had salesmen that would give me a couple bucks if I would direct a sales call to them because they were doing nothing. That's the life of a salesman. That's the life of when
yeah,
you
yeah,
when you sell shit, or when you build, create, and sell shit, because you're not always going to be selling shit. There's going to be times where you're going to go through a
Yep.
boom market where you're selling shit off the shelves, and there's going to be times where you're not selling anything.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's nerve-wracking. You have to really control your anxiety, because it's like, hey, am I going to have enough to pay the rent? And also, oh, I have enough to go eat at Red Lobster 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks.
That's where you just live poor all the time.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, because something that I didn't learn from like my family and my father, who's very conservative, they acted like they were poor. But my grandfather's a doctor. He's an anesthesiologist. My grandmother's a retired nurse. My dad's a retired captain in the Navy. But they always acted like they never had anything. And
Yeah.
I am the polar opposite, where I love
Yeah.
spending money.
Yeah.
I
Peter's
like to buy
Peter's gonna
bullshit.
ball out if he can.
I like,
When he
yeah.
can.
When I get a paycheck, I buy all kinds of Legos, Pokemon cards, bullshit replicas, and then and then it gets to a point where I'm like, all right, well, we're eating ramen this week.
So yeah, well, I mean, I'm the same way, but I feel like I just do it smarter. I do it slow and steady over time, and that's one thing that, again, also being the whole like family dynamic
Yeah.
changes things a lot too. Where it's like we always kind of chuckle between my sister-in-law comes to our house and she thinks we're like as rich as her parent-in-laws, and it's like, just because I have a bunch of nice shit doesn't make me rich.
Yeah.
It just means I take care of my shit, I find good deals, and I keep my shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like some of the things I have, like in our living room wall, we have 3 big, like 4 foot by 3 foot hand painted paintings. We bought them for like $1,000 each. So I have $3,000 worth of artwork hanging on my wall. I got those when I was 20. So they're literally 20 years old now.
Yeah.
It's not like I keep buying new ones or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bought those motherfuckers 20 years ago, and I keep them, and they're in the same exact condition of when I bought them.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's something that I don't think a lot of people understand, is art is also an investment. Like those paintings could probably be worth a lot more than you paid for them nowadays.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
I mean, they were kind of mass painted, but still. But it's other things, same thing. Like we have a wall of, like when we go to our gaming conventions and we buy all this stuff. It's like, yeah, I bought $200 worth of artwork and collectibles at the convention, and I do that once a year for the last 20 years. So yeah, I have a lot of nice collectibles. But again, I take care of my shit.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with somebody like my sister-in-law that like they can't take care of shit, like we talk about like kids with electronics.
Yeah.
We gave Grace a Generation 1 iPad when she was like 2. We still have that Generation 1 iPad. And it's still in like not a single crack or scratch on the fucking screen. My sister-in-law's kids can't have any kind of electronic device longer than like a month without having like spider webs across it.
Yeah.
Hell, my nephew even had one of those tablets that's specially designed for kids to not break. Still broke it. Like, it's like, yeah, well, no wonder you don't have any nice shit in your house. Like, god dang. Like, and the parents aren't any better, It's just, when you don't take care of your shit, of course you're not going to have anything nice. And you're going to walk into my house and be like, oh, you're rich. No, I just have 20 years of slowly investing into a nice house and nice stuff.
Yeah.
And I never get rid of it. That's the difference. Like, yeah, you go to my parent-in-law's house, they have a shit ton of nice stuff. But every like 2 years, it's new nice stuff.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest problem, is I'm a very impatient person. Like I'll watch like Adam Savage work in his workshop, like on YouTube and stuff, and I'll see like the just literal mountains of supplies and tools and things that he has at his disposal, and it's like, I want that like right now. And it's like you have to like stop and realize, it's like, Adam Savage has been doing this shit for 40 years. Like,
Dude.
that's 40 years worth of stuff that he's been saving and holding on to and accumulating over that time. It's like, there's no way in hell anybody would ever just start with something like that.
Dude, even just my moderate garage. I have two other friends, a Super Duper you've seen before, and then there's another guy. You never talked to him, but I mentioned before he was the guy that was running that movie playing nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
So they're both like 40, right? They both come to my garage in amazement, like they think I'm like God, not John Wayne. Who plays John Wayne?
The Pilgrims.
The Pilgrims.
The Pilgrim.
The actor. What's the fucking actor's name?
I think
From
the
Gran
actor's.
Torino.
Oh, Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. So, have y'all seen the movie Gran Torino? Like,
Yeah.
He goes in that garage and
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
every tool you'll ever fucking need and duplicate.
Yeah.
And like, that's how my two buddies that are my age come into my garage. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh man, like, you have everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, yeah.
I'm a grown ass man
Well,
that fixes shit.
Yeah,
And-
if you look at my father, like the garage here at the house at my father-in-law's house right now, you'll see like carburetors and exhaust manifolds and superchargers and heads and distributors everywhere. And it's like, he's been building race cars for, all his entire life. Like, yeah, that's gonna happen.
What's it all like tools?
Well, yeah,
and
the
stuff
same
like that,
thing,
like- I have tools and
you got tools that fix other tools. Like,
yeah. or just simple things like I got boxes of nails and like my buddies can't even fathom owning a box of nails.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, like y'all make me feel bad for my generation sometimes.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's like I'm no master handyman, believe me. There's times I look at things and I'm like, nope, I am calling somebody. I don't care if it's gonna cost me 10 times. Like this bathroom that I just had done, I'm like, I know I'm getting raped on the cost versus doing it myself, but I don't have a fucking clue what I'm doing. I don't want to learn that. No,
Yeah.
but it still fascinates me, is the whole like accumulation of wealth kind of thing. Where it's
Yeah.
like, I got buddies that look at my garage and they're like blown away.
I mean,
because I accumulated a few Sanders and stuff over the years.
It really kind of puts it into perspective, though, right? Like, it doesn't matter how bad you think you have it. Somebody always has it worse.
Well, they don't have it worse. They're living the same quality of life I am.
Yeah,
They just have never invested in a single tool in their life.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that just aligns with passions that you have.
Yeah, like that mini bookshelf. Like I looked at it like I could build that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I even like acquired a couple tools along the way to make it happen. It's just, but like they're the kind of guys that are like that wouldn't even cross their mind.
Yeah.
They would just get on Amazon and be like, let's buy it. And granted, I spend tons of money on Amazon. I'm not against it. I don't want to come across like that. But there's sometimes I look at a project like that as fun. Like you're talking about, like a passion project. Where it's like, this would be fun to say, I built that.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys nowadays aren't the kind of guys that are like, they don't want us. They have no desire to be the guy that says, I built that or I fixed that. They're just like, no, I took that to the shop.
Yep. But with all that being said, we are rolling about 6 minutes over. Actually, 38 minutes over.
That's like 6 minutes. Your clock.
38 minutes
off.
over. So, I mean, you guys all know the deal, right? Make sure you use your Bezos bucks. Give us that Prime subscription if you like what you hear. We stream at a minimum 3 times a week. Make sure you tune in on Saturday. I always forget tomorrow for Goat Stream. I'm great at this, I promise. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Goat Streams. And tune in on Mondays for Scrivs Wrestling Streams. Those are always a blast as well.
You should poke your wife because one of these days they're supposed to start streaming together.
Yeah, one of these days.
Stream.
One of these days.
Cough, cough.
Yeah. But yeah, make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of the podcasts that we do live here get posted over there on the YouTube. So make sure you check that out.
We also do game reviews and
Yeah.
maybe some readings coming in the future.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah, we're gonna start up.
Yeah.
We're gonna start up a monthly state of gaming um, episode on YouTube. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. Stay subscribed for that. Check out our website. Come hang out with us on Discord. We're always in there gaming. And yeah, you got anything you'd like to close out with? Go, Peter. Anything you'd like to say?
No, I mean, I would like to say thank you, Peter, for joining us.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
We
you very
kinda
much,
missed out
Peter.
on
Thank-
last week with Scrivener. So if you're listening, Scriv, thank you for joining us last week. as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of just bounced out because we're used to hanging out with Scriv all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a good chat. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
man.
I can definitely see another stream that you would be a really good fit for. I think we could maybe touch on the topic of just interesting income generators, just interesting ways to make a little extra cash. Something we can all three of us think about over the next couple of weeks or so. Maybe convene for another interesting episode like that.
Yep. And speak on it, a little spoiler. Like I said, next week we're trying to go over the difference of a few varying budgets, between some of the RUM-Gaming members that have varying incomes and cost of livings, and we live in different areas of the country. It's a pretty decent spectrum on things. And
Yeah, Peter, if you'd like to
in that,
participate, yeah, absolutely, we could send you the link and you can
or
fill it
or
out to the
anybody
best of
else
your
in the chat,
ability.
just reach out to
Absolutely.
one of us directly, and we can send you that link. It's just a quick little spreadsheet to fill out. It's simple.
And again, none of the information on there, we don't have to disclose any of it to any kind of precise dollar value. If you want to estimate, that's totally okay.
Yeah. Or, we could just keep it anonymous and say one of
Yeah.
our viewers.
Yeah, we can keep it completely anonymous
Yes.
as well.
And then, like Jason was saying, is after that, we wanted to have another stream kind of talking about, like, unique and crazy ways to save money. And then, potentially, like Jason just pointed out, maybe another one after that about unique or crazy ways to make money that you might not have thought of that might help you, put two and two together. Crazy way to save and a crazy way to make.
Yeah.
Who knows what we'll come up with.
But once again, everybody, thanks for coming out. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Until then, Sir Raptor says goodbye.